I've got another week of live trading for you. The one I did in the week in the life vlog was supposed to be the October one, but wasn't detailed. So to keep the streak going, this week actually has both October and November, so it counts. Kicking off with Monday, the first trade I did was Calm, which gapped down on preliminary results. It originally got bought at the open, but came back down to the lows, so shorted it off the breakdown on the intraday. It was on an uptick, so it was hard to get filled on, but covered what I could get as I saw a volume spike. Then Tell had a similar setup where it popped and came back to the lows, but this one was just a quick scalp off the breakdown. Then I saw the Save going climactic. The airlines have all been weak, and this one has been getting sold off the previous day as well, which makes it more interesting. Decided to buy some over the 5-minute, but popped quick and only got filled half my order. Didn't chase it and decided to take the whole thing as it popped into the 2-minute, but probably should have aimed for the 5, which it did end up getting there. Then scalped the Tell again as it made new lows, and then the afternoon went dead, so didn't do much for the rest of the day. Tuesday was Halloween. I didn't have a chance to pick up a costume this year, so just the usual white tee for me. None of the top watchers really set up for me this morning, so dabbled into some scalps on my carryover list. I noticed the Save was selling off hard again, so was watching for another climactic setup. Got in it over the 5, but wasn't too excited about it this time because I didn't get a lot of acceleration and ended up killing it as it stayed weak and started to roll over again. But what a sell-off on the Save these past couple of days. Then I went after the CIFR, which broke down on the base and gave it 1, 2, 3. Very slow mover, but looked great lower. Then after being stuck in it for almost an hour, of course it decides to pop instead, so I killed it. And unfortunately, it ended up being a shakeout because it came right back in. So I tried to get back in it, but now I couldn't really get filled much. So made a little bit off the drop before it popped again. Afternoon was a non-event again and called it a spooky day. Wednesday was the start of a new month. I went after the Lumen, which gapped down on earnings. Looks like it had a nice drop right at the open, so decided to short it as it based for another breakdown. Did it on E-Trade this time since that's where it was getting filled, and covered it as it had a nice drop. I don't remember the last time I had a trade follow through this well, making me 5 Rs right at the open, but was also a little bit disappointed too, just because I didn't have the platform I usually use to read the level 2 and time and sales and things like that, because that platform was down for me this morning. So not sure if I could have done better if I had that available to me, but I definitely feel like I left at least another 3 Rs on the table, and it didn't really work for me as I tried to flip it long. Then PRM looked like it had an early watch as a climactic, but decided to jump in a short to catch some of that move down and was able to make a few cents out of it. Then Lumen was basing for lower and was in it short, this time on toss, but was not moving. We were heading into FOMC, so I really didn't want to, but I had to kill the trade because I didn't know what Jay Powell was going to say and what the market was going to do. And the last thing I need is for this thing to pop against me and give all my profits back from this morning. So I played it safe and flattened my position. I don't really trade during FOMC. I'm pretty much just in the sidelines every time. I prefer to wait for the market to do its thing, and once it calms down again, I then start to look for setups. But surprisingly, today, we weren't getting a lot of crazy waves that I'm used to seeing during these meetings. So after things leveled off, I went back to the Lumen. It looks like it didn't go anywhere, so re-shorted it off the base breakdown. It's on an uptick, so didn't have much size as before, but ended up following through nicely and called it a day. So this pretty much made all the money today, and it's always nice to start a new month with a day like today. Thursday, I watched the Lumen again. It was now a penny stock, so definitely got a bit more wild this time at the open. Scalped it short as it sold off again, then was able to catch what I could on the way down, but was definitely much harder to get filled today. Then I got involved in the MCRB, which buried the gap this morning on earnings, shorted it off the breakdown on the 5, which worked and got to targets. Then I spent the rest of the morning taking paper cuts on the Lumen. Then I did this BMRN short off the sell setup on the 15. It was a little bit spready, so I did undersize it a bit, and that immediately failed. So I just gave back about 2 Rs to kick off the afternoon session. I do have a limit to what I'm allowed to give back, just so I can protect the rest of my gains, because the last thing I want is to turn a good day into a red day. So I decided to take it easy. So only thing I did was try to scalp the Lumen again and tried shorting this Kano off a tight base breakdown, but couldn't even get filled 1 share, but made some off the bounce after the drop, then called it a day. Friday, I was watching the AGL short as a 1, 2, 3 on the 2-minute. hesitated because of the spread, and I don't know why, I just couldn't pull the trigger. So I just watched it go without me, which actually ended up being a huge mistake because it would have ended up being the play of the day for me. Then noticed the AVDX do a sell setup, so got in it short off the secondary entry on the 5, only got partially filled, so was way undersized, but somehow it was still up about an R at one point. It did get very close to target, but I don't know if it was because I was undersized, but I wasn't watching it too closely. So I didn't trail anything. Usually I would take half or sometimes even the whole thing, and it bounced all the way back up, so I couldn't do much until it gave a pivot so I can lower my stop. So while that was going on, I got involved in this buy setup off the 5 on the FNKO, which gapped up on earnings. It was off the lows, but I really liked the market timing on it. It tagged me in by a single penny and didn't look good right away, so I killed it under that trigger bar's low on the 5 for about a half an hour loss. And also, of course, that AVDX ended up trailing as well for a loss. So what was up an R now took over a half an R loss on it. Not a great morning so far. Then DNMR had a buy setup on the 15, was more of a scalp for me, and that was pretty much the only thing I was able to lock in some profits. Then afternoon went dead again, so didn't do much. So definitely wasn't happy with how I traded today. Passed on the best play at the open, mismanaged my winning play, and no follow through on that FNKO play. So ending the week with a red day. So it definitely feels like earnings season now. Things are picking up. We're getting a lot more gaps, a lot more follow through. And I just hope this momentum continues for the rest of the year because it's been pretty tough. It's been slow, as you hear me mention often in my other live trading weeks. But for now, hope you enjoyed another week of live trading. Make sure to hit that like button. As always, I appreciate you for being here, and I hope to see you on the next one.